Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer with Oculus Rift Reviews. Today we're going to review Witching Tower Heroes, a game released on the Steam store yesterday for all the major headsets. It normally retails for only $8. Is it worse? $8. Well, I got a free Steam key through the Steam Curator Connect program, but as y'all know, that really doesn't affect my opinion at all. I'm going to rate this game as though I paid $8. And the short answer to the question is no, it's not worth $8. In my opinion, it's really not worth anything. I did not enjoy playing this game at all. This is a wave shooter / melee combat wave game, whatever you want to call it. It's just not very good. You have several waves of enemies that just come at you, and while there are different weapons you can choose, a bow and arrow, sword and board, this little pistol with a drill, and a magic wand that has also a healing item. And they all play differently. The problem is the combat itself is just not very fun, and I found it to be very simple and a little clunky. It was often difficult to tell when you had killed an enemy or not, or when you were actually doing damage to an enemy. There are numbers that come out, but it's just hard to tell when you're in the thick of combat and there are several enemies around you. You don't always get good feedback, either visually or through the haptics, on whether you're actually connecting with enemies. And the AI is just not very good. Enemies just come straight towards you, or they go straight for the item, the tower defense. And the enemies, although varied, just aren't fun to go against. It really is just a matter of there being several enemies in the play area at the same time that causes any kind of challenge for this game. It's not in the enemy combat itself. The enemy systems, the enemy AI is just not engaging. The combat mechanic is just not very well put together, and it's just way too simple. This reminds me of wave shooters back in 2016. That were just super simple and not much depth to the combat. And this game does get repetitive. I did finish all the waves in normal mode, so there's 4 different waves levels you can choose. This first one that you're seeing is actually the longest one. It has 10 waves. The other ones are much shorter. But the gameplay is pretty much the same, even though you might have slightly different objectives. And every now and then they do throw an enemy boss, and you saw that with the spider. With this weapon, the spider is very simple, just because this is probably the most overpowered weapon here. The drill just kills stuff really quick. And there is definitely a weapon imbalance. I thought personally the bow and arrow was the weakest. I thought the sword and board was kind of weird, maybe bugged for this level. The sword and board has the special ability. In fact, most weapons have a special ability. The bow and arrow will have the fire, and they'll have the ice arrows that you can switch up. And the sword and board has this fear mechanic where you can make enemies basically go away in fear. And for whatever reason, it seemed like this would backfire on me constantly. And even when I wasn't using the special ability, I would be constantly feared. But only with the shield and sword, not with this other weapon. So I think there might have been some kind of bug which was causing it to happen with only that weapon set. It seems this game is built for online co-op, or maybe even local co-op, with the different weapons having different weaknesses and strengths. The bow and arrow having a strength at range. You have your healing character. You have your sword and board character who can control lots of enemies at one time. And then you have this guy who just does a ton of damage. But right now there is no online co-op. That's still not available. And it really makes the single player just feel stunted. It just doesn't seem to work, because I think these different weapons have a synergy that go together. So if you're in a group of 4, these weapons would make more sense as far as facing a huge group of enemies. But in single player, with all the different strengths and weaknesses they have, in single player it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You're really limited to just getting the best one, and I do believe it's the drill and the pistol, just because you do the highest amount of damage and you can just take down enemies that much faster, because it's really just a matter of killing enemies quickly and making quick damage to whatever objective you might have. The game ran fine. It did not experience any issues. You do have full locomotion and smooth turning. There's teleportation option as well. For the most part, I had this on Epic, and it really ran well. I didn't notice any issues whatsoever on my 1060 GTX. And I did love Witching Tower, the actual main game itself, which came back a while back, and I enjoyed that game. And I had high expectations for Witching Tower Heroes, even at the low price. I thought, well, I understand why they gave it a low price, because, you know, it's not the main game. This is just a little side fun mini game type game, but I thought the combat would be more polished than it is here, and it's just not polished. It's just not fun to play, and I can't recommend it at any price. If they gave this away for free, I'd probably give this a 5 out of 10. But given that they're charging $8, I know it's not a lot, but I have to give this game a 4 out of 10. It's just not very good. I didn't have fun. I plan to play this game more than 1 hour, you know, to get a better sense of the game, but I just couldn't play more than 1 hour. It's just not fun. And I think this would need lots of updates before it would be fun. Like I said, maybe with online co-op, when they add that, it might be more fun, but for right now, it's just severely lacking. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. I'm with Oculus Rift Reviews. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.